She creates noise. She creates noise. She's moving through the world with a powerful voice. She creates noise. She creates. She creates noise. She creates noise.
Hi, you're listening to Sarah Nagurney, and welcome to She Creates Noise, a new podcast spotlighting women who power the music industry, coming to you from New York City. Now, if you don't know me yet, here's a little background. I'm a songwriter, producer, manager, educator, and mentor. I've written platinum-selling songs, had tracks on Grammy-nominated records, and released music on both major and independent labels. I've been a jazz singer, a jingle singer, toured with big bands, and became a pop artist, and I've performed at festivals across the US, Europe, and Asia. These days, I focus on writing with and developing young talent. In the coming weeks, I'll be pulling back the curtain on the music industry's female changemakers. Some are close friends, others I'm just getting to know, but all have reshaped the business in profound ways. My goal here is to help listeners better understand how the music business really works, and just how instrumental women behind the scenes have been. You'll hear from both sides of the desk: artists, producers, managers, label executives, lawyers, women making things happen, often without the spotlight on them. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now let's dive in.
She creates noise.
Hi, today I'm so happy to have Sharon Tapper join me here at She Creates Noise. I've been trying to remember when we met, Sharon. I think it might have been when you were at Razor and Tie, I think originally, maybe 10-ish years ago.
Either there or Cobalt. I don't remember.
Yeah, could have been Cobalt. Yeah, but anyway, I've known you for a while, and it's wonderful to have you here today. And
Thank you for inviting me.
yeah, so impressed with all the cool stuff you do. You've had a really interesting journey. It's spanned artist management, publishing, advocacy, and now leadership at MMF. What were some of the key turning points in your path, and can you tell us a bit about your journey?
Well, I mean, the reality is I was meant to go to med school.
Oh, wow.
And when I was at college getting my A-levels to take that next step, I worked at the student union, and it was there that I booked bands. And it wasn't until that point that I was speaking to booking agents I even realized there was a business behind the music. You can't be what you don't know, and that kind of triggered my interest. And I persuaded my parents to take a year off where my college slot was held, and that was many, many years ago.
And oops, and then you never went back.
Never went back. And they weren't thrilled. They got comfortable with it over time, but it took a long time. And certainly the entire time I was in management, they really didn't get it. They didn't understand. It's like, well, how can you be working so hard, but you only make money when they make money? It's like, well, it's not a per hour paid gig or anything like that. It's just, it is what it is. And that's just the industry standard. They had a very hard time with that. They settled in once I was in publishing, that they understood on the most basic level because it's very complex. But I took a year off and I worked initially at a place called PRT Records. Ironically, that's the location that Annette Barrett's offices are now in Reverb House. It was PRT House before that and something else before that.
In London, this is?
Yeah, in London. And I worked there for about a year, and then I worked at a recording studio, SARM Studios, which was Trevor Horn and Justin Clare's studio in West London, just off of Portobello Road.
How cool.
I was there for 4 years, and I never expected not to be in London. But a group of us entered for the green card lottery, and lo and behold, I got one. I was like, oh.
Wow.
She creates noise.
And figured, well, I mean, I asked my parents and they were okay with it, and off I went. And first time I got a passport, I'd never been out of the country before, never been on a plane before, all of these things. And I basically tossed a coin between LA and New York, and LA came up, so off I went. So that was certainly an important moment, despite being in the industry.
So LA was first, is that what you said?
No, well, LA was first, but I was already in the industry in London, but in a very different capacity. And I was fortunate enough to get references from Seal and George Michael. So when I landed in LA, I had 50 interviews, and I literally got to pick jobs, and it was awesome. and that was great. But obviously, you know, it's great to have those opportunities. Then you have to actually do the work and make it real. And the first job I was offered was at what was then A&M Studios. I was offered the assistant manager job, and I remember just looking around. I'm like, it feels like the same job, just different geography. And I figured if I was going to make this much of a change to my life, I really wanted to change it radically. I wasn't that emotionally attached to being in a recording studio. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I wanted to be more involved in the actual career of the artist, not just the make. And I wanted to belittle it, but not just the making of the music. That's obviously a huge part of it, but it wasn't. I wanted to explore and stretch in different areas. So I took a job at Left Bank, what was then Left Bank Music, and was on reception for like a few weeks. And they're like, okay, yeah, you were going to move you up. And I was quickly made like assistant or day-to-day manager to one of the managers there, a guy called Tommy Manzi. And we ended up working together for 12 years in different companies.
Wow.
And it was a whirlwind. But I really enjoyed it. And I got to work with some incredible people.
I didn't realize you spent quite so much time in LA.
I was there for 7 years. So I moved there in the May of 1993 and was there for 7 years. And then, quite honestly, Tommy and his family, he wanted to move back to New York to be closer to his family. So I was at a point where I was like, well, I'm damned if I'm going to start all over again with somebody else. So I packed and did the move as well. And he set up his own company in New York.
Never looked back.
I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of the weather in New York.
Yeah, it's hard to be a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like being cold or wet, and you know, you kind of have to suck it up. But the reality is, Los Angeles was very, very hard to do an international job, and I am very focused on the global music market. Even though I am with the MMF US, I get the privilege of working with folks at the IMMF, which is the International Music Managers Forum, which gives connectivity to over 60 other MMFs around the world. So I love that global perspective of the industry. And I think or certainly in the US, I think a lot of people can get very myopic about the US and forget about all the other wonderful opportunities that exist in other places around the world.
Americans are very myopic about the rest of the world, for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's a waste, quite honestly. And look, you have to be where you're happy and what makes you fulfilled. And if that's the US, God bless you, and be you. But I think if people realize other things, like other territories where they could really have a whole other world of success, I think it would be great for some folks.
She creates noise.
I couldn't agree more. I've spent a lot of time in England, as you know. Love it over there.
In Europe, I mean, I think the biggest issue is work permits. Quite honestly, we're in obviously a very strange political time, and to be fair, even before Trump, it is time consuming and costly to get the permit. So I also understand that could be a turnoff. But again, it's great to explore other places and get a feel for the other cultures that exist and the artists that exist outside of the US.
Yeah. Well, I used to work a lot in England, so I'm actually an Irish citizen as well, which I know is very fortunate that I had an Irish mom. So, yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
So you can also, I'm presuming, because they have remained in the EU.
Oh, yeah.
Travel freely through Europe.
Absolutely. Yep. It's a very valuable passport.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. the Schengen zone and all of that. I'm always telling people it's like once you're there, everything's in euros and it's just continuous traveling.
Yep.
And you can really write some incredible tours throughout Europe. I mean, again, it's not free, but again, there's just all these opportunities, presuming you can make that first step.
Right. Thinking internationally. It's a great way to go. Now, you've been a strong advocate for music creators through your work, both with the MMF US and also with the Recording Academy. What do you see as the most pressing issues facing artists, and how do those organizations help?
Well, there's power in numbers. I mean, I think the Music Modernization Act proves that. That was really one of the first times that all of the parties came together to push something forward, because I think, people go down there, but they go down their individual groups, and the policymakers quite honestly get really confused. It's like, well, this group wants this group wants that. What the hell do you want? Just being able to come together on one thing, I think, is really important. And it's still a challenge. We try to do a lot in coalitions, and we're certainly part of many coalitions. There really isn't one issue. Obviously, AI is a looming threat.
Yeah.
But, there's also, artistic freedom. The fact that they're restoring the Artistic Protection Act, the RAP Act. The fact that rap artists have unduly been persecuted against. I mean, as of 2020, more than 500 criminal cases have used rap lyrics as evidence in criminal proceedings. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's like saying an author of a book, like American Psycho, for example, it's like saying that author had criminal intent when he wrote those words. It's like, what are you talking about? It just is wrong. And I love that the RAP Act is there to protect not just rappers. It's there for all creatives. Doesn't matter whether you're an author or an artist. It covers all types of art and is there to protect everybody. And it's ridiculous that creative freedom of expression is being used and weaponized in this very unfair way. So that's one. You've got the HITS Act, which is trying to bring parity of full tax deductions to recording production expenses, which are already given to film and TV and theatre productions. We've been pushing for that for a while. I guess one of the bigger things is the American Music Fairness Act, the fact that artists aren't paid for the performance of songs on radio and never have been.
So crazy. They are in Europe, though, of course.
Oh, yeah. The only territories where they are not are North Korea, Cuba, and Iran. Talk about an axis of evil. It's like, oh my God, it's just blatantly ridiculous. And, and each year, I mean, the reality is it's the NAB, which is the National Association of Broadcasters, are incredibly powerful. They spend millions of dollars on their lobbyists, and it's a fight and a struggle, but it really shouldn't exist and should never have existed. But unfortunately, like so many things in the industry, once it's been permitted to happen for any length of time, it's considered baked in, and then trying to overturn it is a real struggle. I mean, we'll not stop fighting for it because it deserves to be fought for, but I know just the fact that there's a letter in the 70s from Frank Sinatra to Bruce Springsteen urging him to be on whatever the equivalent of the AMFA Act then was, is just like, it kind of shows you, it's like this, as long as radio's existed, this has been an issue. And it really shouldn't. And the fact that they make $10 billion a year in advertising on these stations, yet can't pay a decent royalty rate at a time when, especially, artists can ill afford not to get that money to survive.
Yeah. And also in 1948, they passed a law that allowed movie studios not to pay for songs being used in films that were shown in the United States.
It's just ridiculous.
It is crazy.
She creates noise.
And then obviously we've got ticketing acts. We work very closely with NIVA, which is the National Independent Venue Association, and their ticketing coalition, which is Fix the Ticks. We're part of that. We're part of the coalition that is pushing for the Protect the Working Musicians Act, and that's legislation that's aimed to address the imbalance of power between major tech companies and independent artists to give them the ability to advocate for better terms in the digital marketplace. I mean, there's all of this going on.
Wow, you're involved in so many things.
There's a lot. There's a lot. So there really isn't one thing. There's always battles on any number of fronts. And you just push forward with as much as you can for as long as you can until you see light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully something gets passed, or becomes presenting it. The American Music Fairness Act has been many forms that people have been pushing for many decades. So hopefully it will pass in this form. We'll see, God willing.
It's incredible. Another amazing thing, so many amazing things you do. You've also worked with iconic artists like the Cranberries, Meatloaf, Eagle Eye Cherry, just to name a few. From a perspective, I guess, really as a publisher, what distinguishes those artists who achieve longevity from those who burn out? I mean, you've seen it firsthand.
I didn't work with them as publishers. I worked with them as management. What I saw was, especially in Meatloaf, just work ethic. He worked so hard, and nothing but respect for him. And it breaks my heart that obviously he passed during COVID, and it breaks my heart that that's what he remembered for. I was like, oh my God. It was like, that he was amazing. He treated me so well, and I'll always have a great amount of kindness that he and his family showed me. And we went on tour. It was the Cranberries.
So what did you do with the Cranberries?
When I was at Left Bank Management, I was their day-to-day manager. That was when I first got there. I was working on Meatloaf and Richard Marx, to an extent Duran Duran. And then the Cranberries joined, and over time I ended up being I worked in tour marketing, so I worked across all the different artists there. So that was like the Bee Gees, John Mellencamp, Luther Vandross, Motley Crue, just every artist there you got to work across. But I still carried on being very close with the folks that I did day-to-day for. And, you kind of would get in at 6 and you'd leave at midnight or the early hours, and you just, it was 24/7, and you just tried to pull all the threads together to make their experience as seamless as possible.
Lucky them to have you is all I can say. Working those hours is crazy.
They also, I started working with them when I was in I was 23, 24. So, they also gave me the ability to learn. And I'll always be grateful to them for that.
It's cool.
I wasn't birthed with knowledge. I had to learn it.
I had Kate Hyman on the podcast, and she brought the Cranberries to Denny Cordell. I didn't know that, but little tidbits.
Yeah. Well, it was amazing to watch their evolution. I mean, just to see them. I mean, when I first started working with them, they weren't even 21. I had to go and get the beer for them and sneak it into the hotel. It was, again, it's fun. It's hard work, but it's also great to have those experiences. And, but I have to say, over time, I just got to a point where I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Crazy hours.
And that's when just strange timing, and I ended up pivoting to becoming a publisher and became the third US employee at Cobalt, but it wasn't like I planned that. It just worked out that way. And I really enjoyed being a publisher for the years that I have been.
She creates noise.
That's cool. I have to say, one of the things I know you best for, and one of your greatest strengths, and something that's touched many of us, is the way that you've built community here in New York and your continuous mentorship. I mean, the work you did with NYC3 to strengthen New York's professional community, and you've also just helped a lot of emerging professionals. What inspired you to do all this community work?
Well, NYC3, which was the New York City creative community, that really came out of necessity. Gosh, when was that? When did we start that? I guess it was 2010-ish. We don't even remember our first event. We should have been much better in our record keeping.
It was a great I loved it. There was a great organization.
Yeah, and
speakers and everything.
Yeah, I mean, Linda Lawrence Critelli, she was at CSAC at the time. It was just six of us for sitting around a conference table, just bemoaning the fact creators were leaving New York to go to all these places, and I couldn't blame them. None of us could. I mean, the cost of living in New York is nosebleedingly expensive, and other places were offering them tax credits and all kinds of shiny objects to lure them away. And certainly nobody can blame people for that. People have to go where the opportunities are. But we wanted to at least remind people that there were still creatives here, because we would hear constantly, "Oh, there's nobody left in New York anymore." It's like, what are you talking about? So we, over time, put together a database that we shared with people around the world and be like, "Hey, who are you working? Who do you want to work with?" It's like, these people are here, and just, build it up over time. I mean, what was 6 of us around a conference table ended up growing to, I don't know, 450, nearly 500 professionals in the industry. So those were either people who, worked with artists and creatives. So that would be creatives and publisher companies, A&Rs, sync folks, all kinds of people. They were just like one step removed from the creators themselves. So we would do alternate months. So we would do meetings with just those folks with a guest speaker. And then the following month, we would just do a mixer where we opened the doors up to all of the creatives so everybody could mix and mingle and get to know each other. And it was just a great way that we could remind one another, like, who was here, because we did it often enough. It's like, look, just show up to whatever you can. It was always like a cash bar situation. Except for the one that we did during Indie Week. That was a full-on showcase where we would highlight different artists, and that was a lot of work, but a great way in which to put us on the map. And people would really flock to the events. It was always like a packed house, and it was great to be able to do that, and to also engage with the artists who were here and pull them from our community. We'd openly throw up the ask. It's like, who's here? Who should we focus on? Who are you working on? Who should we spotlight and try to share the love in that way? And in other years, we would, have people submit themselves to be considered. And then we had local New York A&Rs pick out who should have the opportunity. And that worked really well. And quite honestly, if I hadn't have done that, I most probably wouldn't be doing this job now.
Because you're doing a lot of the same kinds of get-togethers, I guess, with the MMF.
Yeah, but now it's nationwide. And I remember people like, "Oh, we missed NYC3." It's like, come to these events. What are you talking about? It's still happening. We have 7, about to have 8 chapters nationwide. So we got LA, New York, Miami, Chicago, Austin, Boston, Nashville, and we're about to launch Atlanta this year. And each of them are at different places. Obviously, LA and New York are the most evolved because they already existed before I got here. And being able to, work with people in these different locations. I mean, at first we didn't have people, so we had to find people to represent us and then help them.
Well, it was here. It was just a bit sleepy before you came along.
Yeah. I mean, the MMF was here, but I'm talking about in the local chapters.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, it's great that we now have bodies and committees in all of these places. So now we can actually do really meaningful programming for people locally as well, because I think people, they crave community, especially after the pandemic. It's always been important, but being able to put those events together where people can just mix and mingle and learn and share from one another. I mean, it's where people of all levels can exist, and it's just things that just the proximity of people, just the magic happens. People leave, it's like, thank you, this wouldn't have happened. And it's like, hey, thank you for showing up. It's not like we match make people. We just had people in a room and they kind of do the work from there. But without the proximity, things wouldn't have happened without that. So, it's great to be able to bring that community where it's so needed, quite honestly.
She creates noise.
It's great. I mean, I've been to a bunch of your events here and in LA, and I'm always meeting new people. It's fantastic. I don't know how you do it all, but it's really works great, and we're lucky to have you putting all.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to now be able to oversee it. I mean, we work with them on the programming, but it's on them, the local chapters, to organize it. I mean, we definitely work with them and make sure, it's promoted and, it's the right, that it's programmed correctly. And it's like, well, what else can we bring to it? I mean, sometimes we have to like work on a little bit, but, it's very much part of the chapter's role is to plan one thing per quarter. And that can be a mixer, it can be a panel, it can be going to a sporting event, it can be bowling. It doesn't really matter. It's just that experience of just a communal activity.
Yeah, and it's all ages, which is great. There's a lot of young artists, managers.
Oh yeah, it's all ages, it's all levels. Often the mixers, we don't have to be a member to join or to participate. Just show up. We're a trade association that was established in 1993, and it was intended purely for professional artist managers. Nita Raghawanzi, who's the president of both the MMF US, which is the Music Managers Forum US, is also now president of the IMMF, which is the International Music Managers Forum. And when she came in to be president of the MMF US, she was basically like, we gotta open the doors. We've got to let people who are self-managed artists be part of this, so we can help educate them and help them on their journey. And maybe they'll want to carry on managing themselves, or maybe they'll need a manager. So, it's in our interest to help them and give them the tools to succeed. I mean, all we can do is give them the toolkit. What they choose to do with it is up to them. And the reality is, there's no one set journey to success. There's any number of routes, and it's really up to the artist and the manager to kind of navigate that hand in hand.
No magic pill.
There is no magic. Yeah, people come to us all the time, expecting us to be able to wave a wand. It's like, it doesn't work like that. It's like, you got to work. Everybody's got to work. There is no such thing as an overnight success. Nobody, when you look back at everybody, I mean, Billie Eilish was releasing songs on SoundCloud. Katy Perry was dropped God knows how many times. Chappell Roan was, she's been at this for years. I mean, it's just
10 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nuts. But the ones who succeed have like a huge amount of work ethic. And, it's not just that. There's talent is part of it, but work ethic is a huge part of it as well.
No, it's huge. I can tell you, I've seen it up close.
Yeah. And the team you have around you. I mean, over time, as you need to add people, because nobody knows everything. And you need to bring in different professionals doing different things at different times, whether that's business manager, an attorney, obviously a manager, but beyond that as well, maybe you need somebody who specializes in a type of marketing or
social media,
whatever it is, trying to identify who those right people are to bring into your orbit as well.
She creates noise.
I believe there'll be some people, young people listening, and they're going to probably wonder what advice you have for those people looking to build a lasting career, either, as an artist or in the business itself.
Just, again, hard work. Build your career. I think we get too many artists who come to us saying, I need a manager. It's like, okay, you have 7 followers on Spotify, or you look, it's like, well, what are they managing? And, they just don't justify it. And, no disrespect, but you've got to build it. You've got to be able to sell shows. You've got to be able to sell tickets, and you've got to be able to navigate this professionally and grow it to a point. Because quite honestly, if you're selling shows and you're drawing people in, they will find you. Because promoters and venues, they talk, we talk with them, all the time. And if there's something they're excited about, they will let us know. And people try to jump too early. And it's like, you've got to do the work. You've got to have something, and you've got to build something. And then once you get to that point, things will start coming to you. And I think people expect to sign with a manager, and they can then, abdicate responsibility for their career almost. And it's like, no, you have to understand what it is you're doing. You have to do that work to get yourself to at least a certain level. And I think that's where I see too many people just get bored really quickly. And, the reality is, you put the release out, you work it, hopefully you're touring, you can keep expanding on your touring route and keep adding more markets and increase your footprint. And you just have to keep doing it. And it's a long slog. And I think people, they get caught up in the illusion of it without really understanding what's involved.
And on the business side, I think you're an excellent example of someone who just kind of went for it. You got a gig and you got a job. You figured out how to make it work, and you just kept going from there by putting in the time. And there's another person I was talking to on the podcast, and she was saying how she put together a music night, her and another friend, while she had like a very lowly job. And because of that, she had all these people coming to the shows, and she was meeting managers and new artists, and it just kind of expanded, much like you're doing. But, for young people go, I've tried to get a job, on the internet, and I'm not getting a response. You kind of have to create your own luck, really.
Yeah. I mean, this is really, so there's this group of us up in Westchester. So that's where I live. And a few of us this is pre-pandemic, I guess we've been doing this for 8 or 9 years, maybe longer. But basically, like, why are we all meeting up in the city? We live in Westchester. Why are we meeting up there? This is ridiculous. So we put together, the Westchester Music Meetup group. And we started about 40 or 50 people that we knew. And we're over 150 people at this point. And again, we just put things together. We just, pick a venue. We warn the venue. It's like, are we okay to do this? It's cash bar. And, I recently shared it with the regional liaisons at the New York Recording Academy. And I said, look, I get that you guys are all over the footprint of the New York chapter. And we talk like every quarter, but, I just want to let you know that we do this. Any of you are welcome to attend if you so wish. But this is an example of something you can do in your own market. You can put something together and build a community. And it's just an incredible way of meeting people that you may have forgotten that were in your backyard, or you didn't know were in your backyard. I mean, these are people who may be up the street from you, and you're like, oh my God. None of this is rocket science. That's the thing. It's just like, you just got to put it together and do it, and then keep doing it, and just make sure there's a cadence to doing it. You can't just do it once and then, I think that's what people expect. Like, well, I put this out. Why didn't it respond? It's like, well, because you have to keep doing it.
It's very true. It's amazing. You do all, I don't know how you do all these things. From your early days at SARM West with legends like George Michael, Paul McCartney, What's the shift in the industry, and what do you see happening in the future? What is your, are you optimistic? What are you feeling?
I try to remain optimistic. I mean, AI is definitely something that is threatening creativity. I mean, the fact that somebody with zero musical skills is suddenly able to like create a piece of music, but obviously it's not theirs. They haven't thrown any creativity. They put in some prompts, and that's just being, depending on the platform, is just being stolen from creatives. And that to me, I find very disturbing. But I think when it comes down to it, it has become harder for creatives to make a living. And I think that is an issue. And I think, there's a lot of people who are, for lack of a better word, hobbyists who want this to be reality. And again, if we can help them make that step from a hobby to a career, then that's something we obviously want to try and do. Obviously, it's not going to work for everybody.
There's a lot of stuff out there.
There's a lot of stuff, and not all of it is great stuff, but some of it is. And I just pray that the people who are doing truly extraordinary work have the stamina and the thick skin to prevail and keep pushing their career forward, because it is hard. But the reality is it really comes down to being able to sustain yourself and figuring out the best way to do that. And definitely it's like doing shows, getting in front of people are really important. And I can never overstate this enough. Having a mailing list, not Instagram followers, not any kind of social media followers. That's great, but you cannot communicate with them directly. And if you cannot do that, you cannot really sustain your career properly. You have to be able to communicate with these people directly. So getting them off of that onto a mailing list is, I think, a big priority for artists. We spent the last 20 years driving our artists to social media, and it's quite honestly, and turning those companies into billion-dollar entities at the expense of the artists. And it's not just artists, it's photographers, it's authors, it's all arts.
And just to be clear, you mean like really having an email list like the good old days?
I'm talking about email list.
Right.
I'm talking about name, number, email. If they want to share their mailing address, that's fine. But, I don't think people are, look, if people want to do postcard mailers, I think they're great. But I'm talking about being able to email somebody directly with what you're working on. Hey, we got this show coming up. Being able to like target people geographically when you've got a show happening, I think is really powerful. I never forget, I sang the Dresden Dolls when I was at Cobalt, and you went to their shows. They were so militant about their mailing list. They would be in the crowds like, are you on our mailing list? Why not here? And, that mailing list was really built out of Amanda Palmer's paranoia. She's like, all of this can leave us. Our label can leave, our publisher can leave, our manager can leave. Everything can just implode. This list is all we have. And it's that list that enabled her to do the first $1 Million Artist Patreon campaign. And, that's just, I think, a lesson for all artists. I don't care who you are, at what level you are, you have to know who your fans are. And you have to know how to connect with them and be able to dialogue with them.
I love this point. This is great. This is a really important point.
Just giving them exclusivity on things. It doesn't, just don't be the worst boyfriend in the world. Don't constantly ask. Give them things that, make them feel special. Without them, artists are nothing without their fans. And you have to treat that with responsibility and respect. And, maybe it's a demo that it will make the album that you want to share with them, or maybe you're doing an EP, whatever it is, giving them things that are meaningful or important. And, that's, again, nothing I think is rocket science, but just being able to empower yourself to move your career forward, that's a really easily overlooked thing.
She creates noise.
Know your audience. Absolutely.
Know your audience, be able to communicate with them. And this is from like beginning onwards, every show onwards. I think people hide behind their social medias like, oh, follow my Instagram post. Fuck that. Have a mailing list. Go and stand at the merch table.
Bring a pad of paper and a pen.
Bring a pad of paper. And then make sure that when you finish either that evening or the following day, get it into an Excel. It's not complicated. And then you can do something like MailChimp. They have there's all kinds of platforms. We use MailChimp, so I'm most fluent with them. But they've got a basic level that's free up to a certain amount. Just start there. I mean, God willing, you get to a point where you pay for it because you've got enough fans. Then you can justify it. But just starting there, I mean, we've been very cognizant in adding vinyl to our membership discounts recently. So we've now got working with Citizen Vinyl out at Asheville, North Carolina, and they give our members a 5% discount on vinyl pressing, which I think that's a great way to make money, quite honestly. I mean, you only need to sell a few of those to help. Look, it's not going to cover everything, but it all helps. And when you add all these bits of income up, it can make a difference in the sustainability of the career of the artist.
And it's more meaningful than a T-shirt,
It is. And I don't know about you, but I remember sitting on the floor and poring over the liner notes and, playing the music and just, that was just I don't know, that's kind of missing now. You don't have that in a digital way. You have no idea who made the record, who mixed it and mastered it, and who were the musicians and who were the writers. And I just kind of loved finding all that out and going that deep dive. And I'm really I don't know, felt more connected with music. And it really is, I think people are doing it more and more often, but, maybe you do it in a really pretty way. I mean, you can do all kinds of fun things with the vinyl color and maybe you do an exclusive run of 100 and that make it super, super special. And, maybe people, I don't know, however you choose to get that out there. But I think, again, making things that are special, right? But not doing it overly to a point where it's, God, they've got another. Then they're like doing something where it's like 20 different colored vinyls and it's just like, do it with, again, treat your fans with respect and dignity. Don't be abusive in the relationship because nobody likes that. And you turn them off, quite honestly, quite rightly. And there are so many artists and you really want to do it in a way where, they're in it for the long haul. I mean, I'm sure you remember when Lady Gaga started out, she couldn't get arrested. She was bouncing between labels. I remember seeing at the bitter end where she obviously had the charisma and the talent, but just didn't have the songs. And, and then she clicked. She was working with the right songwriters and then she was working with, I think she called them Little Monsters. And that was really a street team. And they would go out and they would rebate for her. And they still, she still looks after them.
She learned the hard way. She had to figure it out.
Yeah. But there's nothing stopping any artist from doing that.
Yeah, have your team.
It isn't. You have your super fans. You have those people, and it's like send them some posters to put up, or give them something signed that really is meaningful to them, and again, just do it in a way that isn't usury.
Great. Well, there's so many fascinating things we could talk about. I wonder if there's anything that I didn't bring up that you wanted to say, or any question I didn't ask.
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And, I think longevity is definitely, important. So looking after yourself is really important. I think self-care, I know there's a lot now about mental health and, as there should be. But, staying healthy on the road or staying healthy is important. So just being able to take care of yourself and your team members and your band and everybody else is important. And just making sure everybody's okay and recognizing in yourself when you're not okay, being able to take a beat and try and look after yourself. Don't overlook your own health. because in the long term, that is what will sustain you, and you need to be healthy.
Yes. Important and a tough thing to be in the music industry.
It is. And sometimes you have to say no. And, I think there's so much FOMO in this world. And I've certainly, I think as I've got older, I've got better at it. I don't really experience that to any extent anymore. And I used to be at everything. And ironically, through a health incident, I had a brain hemorrhage in 2007 that nearly killed me. And I had to rejig my entire way in which I worked. I mean, the reality is it left me with essentially what was stroke. I was put on a ward with stroke victims, and I had to learn to read, write, walk, talk, and it took about 6 months to get back to any degree of normality. And that was really scary, but it made me realize that health is fragile and you can't take it for granted. I think we do take it for granted. But, I was at every show. I mean, prior to that, I was at maybe 3 shows a night, nearly every night of the week. I kind of tried to keep, the weekends to myself. That was my time where I literally just slept to recharge and be ready for the following week. But, through that scare, it kind of led me, it's like, okay, I've got to take better care of myself and I got to learn how to do things differently, because the reality was I couldn't go to shows anymore. The scars on my head from the surgery were just so sensitive. I couldn't be around live music and couldn't be for a really long time. So I had like, well, how am I going to carry on doing this? And I just learned different things and took my career in a different way.
I didn't know you went through that, and we're glad to have you here today.
Yeah, glad to be here, but it definitely changed a lot. I feel blessed that I'm able to be able to carry on doing what I love for a living. I mean, that's reality. I think we're blessed. If we can wake up every day and do what we love for a living, then, we're better off than 99.9% of people in the world.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for encouraging our listeners to stay the course and giving such great advice. And really appreciated having you here today, and look forward to having you on the next episodes in the future.
No problem. I mean, just quickly, one last thing. I think people are so afraid of failure because we're in this perfect Instagrammable world, and it's like, you're going to fail. It's okay. I mean, it's not, but you just expectation of perfection is ridiculous. And that's how we learn, is by failure. And, I think people have to be at peace with that as well.
Absolutely. Well, sage words from Sharon Tapper. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
She creates noise.
I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Heard City, the premier audio post-production company servicing the advertising, motion picture, and television industries right here in NYC. I'd also like to thank Ann Tello, aka XO Ann, for singing the She Creates Noise theme that I wrote. Thanks for listening to She Creates Noise. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and share. I want to thank the team here, Blair Reinley, Yelena Stavanovich, Emily Wilson, and the Master of Engineering and Grammy-winning Cooper Anderson. We'll see you next time.
She creates noise. She creates noise. She creates noise. We hear her voice. She creates noise.